was in touch with Tanya Lee, and then that was it. Now he only deals with Tanya Lee. But every time I see him at the breakfast, he's still like, that's my lady right there. He tells everybody in the
That's so
breakfast.
funny, so he probably gets you business.
It's fun. I'm gonna sell it. That's why I feel it.
Are you gonna get another one with your
I have
husband?
none.
What are you gonna get?
I'm gonna get a nicer one. My face on it.
Well, Georgie, it's about 10 to 12. How long do you want to go? Because I know you've got a call you
I
have
have a
to
call
take
at
at 1.
1.
Well, you want to go ahead and start now?
Sure, I don't know, is anybody else?
We have 8 other RSVPs.
Well, we don't have any other bodies.
No.
At least not yet.
I mean, it was 11:30, Georgie, I think. That was the,
Okay.
you know what I mean? That was the
Yeah.
time. So Ben showed
But
up by
people
now.
usually.
And people come in
don't
late,
come to
too.
me, because they come
We
to
have
me.
folks that show up unannounced,
Yeah, last week
uninvited.
we had.
Uninvited.
I
Not
thought
on
they
time.
were making it 12:30.
I said I'd sit up front and give you a smiling face, Georgie.
Uninvited, that's okay. We
I'm
take
sorry, I'm
care
not
of
being rude and leaving you. I just
you're
promised
fine.
I'd sit up front.
Well,
She's being nice and being a friendly face,
I
smiling.
was trying to be.
well, welcome to AOTuesday. I'm not Lori.
And we're grateful for that.
So am
We're like, really like, Lori,
So
what
am I.
up?
That would not work. Let's do what we normally do. We'll start in the back. We'll go around the room and introduce ourselves. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do.
I'm Tim Simons. I'm with Integrated Security Technologies, a Virginia-based electronic cyber physical security organization based in Herndon, offices in Richmond, Roanoke, and Virginia Beach. And we specialize in security.
Cool. Iris.
Hi, my name is Iris Nance. I'm an agency owner for Farmers Insurance, 24 years, and we do everything from your auto, your home, commercial, we do it all.
Kellen, who are you?
I am Kellen. I am the project manager here. My job is to manage projects and to basically, once Frank does his job, he gives the rest to me. And then
I think he's looking
keep
for
Lori
the
happy
door.
for us.
Yes,
Looking
right.
for the door.
Well, yes. Arnold, while you're here, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Arnold Heath. I am with Atlantic Office Technologies. I am the service manager. We take care of all the copiers, printing needs, faxing needs. Yes, faxes are still out there. So any
Both of
questions
them?
within, yes, within those operations that I handle all those here.
Excellent, thank you. Chuck.
I'm Chuck Worley. I used to be a stripper. Wow. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Worley's Home Services. No one would ever believe that, right? So,
Sorry.
of course, if I tried now, I'd throw a hip. But I'm Chuck Worley. I own Worley's Home Services. I will pass you out my cards, but you probably see my trucks every day, whether you know it or not. They're green and orange and obnoxious, as my son would say, like me. But we do heat and air, electrical, plumbing, crawl space encapsulations, insulation, pretty much anything to do with the house home services we do.
Cool.
Excellent.
Paula.
Hi, y'all. Oh, I'll stand in case y'all thought I was already standing. Hi, I'm Paula Favor. I own Favor Insurance and Financial Services. I do insurance as well. I'm actually one of the largest Simple Plan and IRA writers on the East Coast. I own a State Farm agency, but I write with State Farm. I also write with other carriers, and I do mortgages with Rocket Mortgage. So if that's something that you're interested in, I do them on the back side, the wholesale side, not the front retail side. You don't want to go on like rocketmortgage.com and do it because that's the retail side. Come through somebody like me, get to the back side, the wholesale side. But I mean that's me in a nutshell, right?
That's Paula.
I do a lot of IRA simple plans. So
Well, as you can tell, we have been going around the room introducing ourselves. And as soon as you're done, feel free to help yourself. Everything back there is all really good.
It's really
Let us know
good.
who you are or what you do, why you're here.
All right. My name's Pete Peterson. I'm with Merit 2.0. We're an outsourced technology firm. We make the cloud work and we do cybersecurity. Small businesses up and down the East Coast. We have 28 people, 17 of them in Chesapeake, 11 of them in Rhode Island. And I'm relatively new to the area, been here 18 months. So I apologize for being late, but
It's tricky to find this.
It happens.
Last month there was no numbers on the bill, so hey.
It was just a nondescript building, hidden in plain sight.
But yeah, I think every time I come here, except this time, I get stuck on the train.
It's about 12 to 12:30 is the average train.
Now, this morning, there was something really different, because I was shooting down Shore Drive, and Lesnar Bridge was closed.
Oh, because they're
Filming a
filming a
commercial.
commercial, yeah.
Navistar trucks. I went, you mean I gotta turn around, go back to Great Neck and go back around?
Wow, that's
These
a
poor
long way
guys-
around.
These poor guys making deliveries are probably screaming. But I'm Frank Webster, I'm the technical sales manager. I'm filling in for Lori today. She can't be here because of events in Richmond. And they're good events, not bad events. She didn't start anything. And I'm gonna take a minute to introduce you to Georgie Marquez, one of the principals. Wait a minute, where's your thing is going?
Oh, it's the other way.
There you go.
It's this way.
I'm
You're the house
Marquez
mom.
Architects. We've known each other for a few years. She's gonna be talking about some really cool stuff for all of us. So, Georgie, did we get you
Awesome.
plugged in and turned on?
I think,
Yes.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got you. Okay, go
Oh, there
for
we
it.
go. So this is interesting because I was gonna focus, it's kind of like a two-part presentation, and I was gonna focus on one side of it, but I'll go faster the other side, and I think I'm gonna reverse it because of who's here. So, just a little bit about who we are and what we do so that, this is so cool. I want one. So this is some of the work we do. This building is at the Navy Yard in DC. That's Batchelder and Collins. And this is a dining facility for CBP, Customs and Border Protection in West Virginia. So we do a lot of DoD work, a lot of renovations. We did Roger Brown's in Portsmouth, if anybody has
I
been.
love Roger Brown's.
And then we did Riverstone Chop House in Suffolk, Zushi in Town Center, and then one of our latest is Decoys, also in Suffolk. And for that one, there was also, this is not just a restaurant, there's also
Tiki bar.
the Tiki
whoops.
Bar, yeah.
Whoops.
No
Every Sunday's
no
fantastic.
stripping on the Tiki Bar.
No.
You did the remodel on that, Georgie? That was your design?
We designed, it's a brand new building. There used to be an old building there that had was legendary, people always used to eat, and then it went in total disrepair. They tore it down, they actually salvaged some of the wood from it, and some of the wood has been used throughout. The owner of the restaurant is also a contractor, and so he built this one, he built Riverstone. And if you bring your boat, you can actually stay at the little apartments or towns, and actually people rent them, even local people, and the people have gone just run escape. So we're going to talk about well-being and feeling good, the positivity about feeling good, and we think many times, we live in such a stressed environment, in such a stressed world, that how do you make your space that you live in, that you occupy, be less stressful or possibly even help you deal with some of the stresses. And so there's been a lot of technology that has happened. Architects and designers do, this is some of what we can do. There's things that you do as far as creating spaces that are conducive to people feeling well in the space. It's a really important issue, and so hopefully the sun will work.
I probably would make a time machine.
Can you hear?
I would make medicine for the sick. I want to go check out the room sometime. I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna. I would try and invent machine that lets you run at light speed. If I have 5 more extra years to solace, I don't really know. I think I do anything. Why are you asking me that?
So that's the statistic for the first time yet ever. Up to now, we've had our children were expected to live longer than parents, much longer than grandparents. And for the first time, because of the lifestyle that most kids have today, they're actually expected to live less, shorter lives than us. And so that's a really sobering statistic. So is there anything that we can do? Part of it is because kids don't move. We have stopped allowing kids to move. This is a map of the United States from 2012. And you can see, the majority of the country is on the 25 percentile and up in 2012. This is 2020. It's changed quite a bit.
That's dramatic.
Yeah, it's very dramatic. It's very dramatic. And so,
Thanks for lunch. Thanks for lunch. Appreciate that.
there's good beans, there's good stuff. There's tofu. No. And the thing is, the truth is that, obesity, there's all sorts of things that come out of obesity, certain cancers and preventable, and it is preventable. But we have a body system that involves more than just the digestive eating system. And so there are things that happen in our system that maybe can predispose us to gaining weight, to obesity. Any woman knows that hormones can do weird things to your body, and you can retain weight that you didn't expect. But there's also things when your endocrine system gets compromised because of stuff that's in the air that can cause your body to stop functioning the way it's supposed to function. A lot of the things that affect our system are things that are in the environment. So a lot of it is environmental, and there are things that we can do about it. For example, air quality. We all think about, of course, air quality. If you breathe good air, it's going to help you. If you don't breathe good air, air affects cardiovascular, endocrine, immune, and integumentary, the nervous and the respiratory system. This is just the air we breathe. So the importance of having clean air inside as well as outdoors. For the longest time, everybody focused on air pollution, and that we meant, let's keep the trucks from polluting the environment and whatever. And then we realized that sometimes the air inside is actually worse than the air outside. I'm sure that, you've seen a lot of the low VOC paints, for example. But it's taken several years to have people get used to the fact that that new building smell is probably the worst thing you could possibly smell, because all you're smelling are all the chemicals and toxic things. And so we think that it's good, that means it's new. Clean, all of the ammonias and things, that's really not that good, yeah.
So the volatile organic compounds that you were talking about, do you know that I saw a survey probably 10 years ago that said, you remember SIDS?
Yep. Sudden infant death syndrome, yep.
So there was a thing that there was a report that what is the first thing you do when you're going to have a baby to the baby's room?
You paint the room.
Paint, carpet, and whatever else, right? Every new furniture, everything's brand new. And back then, the VOCs were a whole hell of a lot worse than they are now. And they said that there was a survey thing that the doctors or whatever trying to figure out that said that is possibly what part of SIDS was the VOCs that killed some.
I wouldn't be surprised.
When I read it, I was like, holy crap, that's exactly what you do. Do carpets, do all these vehicles.
Yeah,
And
and think about a human
In
body.
a 10 by
and a
10
dog.
room.
Right, with a little infant that is just like this
Right,
little sponge,
breathing,
super
everything.
sensitive
Yeah.
to everything that's around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. That is crazy. I'd love to find that because that is so important. So yeah, so air is important, but it's much more than just air. Sitting, here we are all sitting. Sitting is probably the worst thing we could do. But yet we fall into this habit. As I was updating the presentation and doing this, all of a sudden I'm getting to this and I went, because I have a stand-up desk. So this is you sitting all the time, and then this is you at a stand-up desk. I have a stand-up desk. Do I use it? I always forget that I have my stand. So I'm like doing this presentation, I'm like, okay, I'm standing up. You know, but I'm trying to sort of get into a habit of standing more and walking more, and even just that movement of standing and sitting. And the solution is not to stand all the time, because that's actually really bad for you too. That can affect your skeletal, you know, your back, your legs, your hips. What you want to do is the back and forth. And ideally, actually, one of the best solutions is to have a desk where you have a stool and you're perching. Because you know when you perch on a stool, you sort of like, you're moving a lot, you sit for a little bit, and then you kind of scoot down, and then you sort of, you know, so you're moving throughout the day. So you know that concept of the fidgety kid, that's what we all need to become, fidgety people, so that, you know, we're always moving and we're always not staying standing still.
I read a thing that said that sitting is the new cigarette.
Yeah, it's a new smoking, yeah. I actually had a slide that said just that. It's like, yeah. So now in buildings, there are things that have been done, that are being done by designers that can help sort of encourage people to move more. So traditionally, I mean, think 15, 20 years back, if you went into a public building, the stairs usually looked like this. They were like the, you know, emergency exit stairs. They were in the back. They were dark. They were dingy. They also, all the pipes ran through them. They were out of the way. They were exactly where you needed them to meet the code requirements, and that was basically it. But now, we're seeing stairs becoming much more prominent. Why? Because we want to encourage people to walk up the stairs. And so, you know, all of a sudden, stairs have become this beautiful element that you're seeing more and more in lobbies, you know, in public buildings and whatever. Oops. This is very intuitive. One of the things that I'm sure you've started to see also, and it's funny, I don't have the picture of this one, but at a recent building where there's lots of doctors' offices, they have the emergency stairs that are behind doors, but they usually have the doors so you can see in right next to this beautiful lobby next to this elevator. And so you're seeing more and more stairs next to the elevator. And if you're going 1 or 2 floors and you press the elevator, and the elevator, you wait and you wait in front of you, oh, I'm just gonna go up the stairs. Okay. Elevators can be timed so that they take longer. And many times they're purposely timed to take longer to encourage people to use the stairs. So it's not an accident that the elevator takes a long time. It's actually many times on purpose.
Wow.
But you know what? People then say, oh, take the stairs. You know, but that's not your first reaction. Your first instinct is, let's go up the elevator. It's just 1 flight, maybe 2 flights. You can go up the stairs, you know, and that's where design can sort of play with people's, I want it now, and I want to move quickly, and encourage a lifestyle that is a healthier lifestyle. Well, it's a system that has, it's been developed maybe within the past 6, 7, 8 years, and it's kind of like, everybody's familiar with LEED design, which is green building design. Well is kind of like the next, a more advanced iteration of LEED, and what it does is, remember all of the body systems that we used before, LEED incorporates all the body systems in 10 different concepts that they encourage people to utilize when we design. So things like making sure that there's clean air, that windows are operable, that the air filtration system that is in the building actually works, water that not only, have you also noticed all of a sudden everywhere you go, we've changed the water fountains to bottle, to refillable, okay? Because you're trying to get people with materials and with water to also keep in mind, let's just keep a bottle with me all the time, you know, and then you fill them. I love it in airports especially, that can save you a lot of money. You keep your bottle and you have to pay $4 for a 16-ounce bottle of water at the airport, and now they have all of the bottle filling machines. Nourishment, encouraging, a lot of people will have break rooms that have, in the past, they used to have like soda and just candy. Well, now encouraging to have things like maybe peanuts, maybe some fresh fruit, some almonds, so that you're actually encouraging people to have the option to eat something else. Light, to have good lighting so that you're also seeing a natural light, and when you don't, you have the new spectrum LEDs that can provide some of that sense of outdoors. Movement, the encouragement of movement through the space. One of the things that is also happening a lot, there was a time, if you remember, that every desk had its own printer, right? Which was great for printer companies because we sold tons of printer companies because everybody at their desk had one. Well, now you have a central area, so if you want to print something, you have to get up and you have to walk to the printer. And again, that's something that's done on purpose to get people to move. Makes it healthier. Thermal comfort, we're familiar with that. Sound, you know, the loud noises, as more and more offices are open space and there's a lot of talking, you can either do white sound or create spaces there's that people can go in to take private conversations so that you keep the sound levels low. Again, the materials, the low VOCs, the carpets that use the glue that is not toxic, and recyclable materials. And then mind and community, creating a safe environment is the community, but the mind also a place where there's not a lot of level of stress. The community has gotten very tense. We live in times that are very tense. It's hard. People are even afraid of like having conversations now. So there is a lot of fear. And so creating an environment where people feel safe and feel like they can talk to people. And that leads to the second part of the presentation, which I took a little bit longer on. That is, so this is the spaces that we create for well-being. Lots of lights, lots of room, lots of movement, spaces for people to walk, spaces for people to move around and to have relations. And then that last one, community, leads us into the concept of safety. Especially after the past 2 years we've had, the level of stress and intensity that people are under is like never before. And so what have we started seeing? We've started seeing a lot more violence, a lot more anger, a lot more abuse at home. And all those things filter into the workplace. And all those things filter into schools. And all those are places that all of us here work in. So whether you are working in it or you are designing security for it, you're putting the cameras, you know, the door controls, the key systems, whatever, we are very aware that we have reached a different level than ever before as far as the safety of the people. And if it's your office, you need to be aware of a lot of what's going on. CEPTED is crime prevention through environmental design. For the longest time, CEPTED was mostly something that was done by police departments, security companies, but more and more is starting to filter down. They're encouraging more and more architects and designers to become certified in CEPTED and to incorporate CEPTED principles in the designs that they do. I'm certified in CEPTED and I've taken many courses on it. And there are things that we can do to make spaces safer. And part of it is working with companies like the ones that use to set up the cameras, the access control and all of that, but you need to put that together with the actual design of the space so that everything complements each other as opposed to just making no sense. You don't want to put the card readers in places where it's easy for somebody accessing the building to get mugged. Does that happen? Absolutely. You know, people is like, oh, let's put it in the back or out of the way, you know, and then only certain people can have access. Well, you know, that's really not a good idea. So that's where you sit down with the designer. Where are we putting the main entrances? Where are we putting the side entrances? SEPTED has very specific strategies. These are just some of it: natural surveillance, territorial reinforcement, access control, and maintenance. So here's natural surveillance. Okay, this is your typical deli or bodega in New York. Okay, this looks like really the perfect place for accidents and muggings to occur. Whether you fall into the basement because it's open, or because there's obstacles on the street, or the fact that if somebody's mugging that store, you have no idea what's happening in there because they have all the advertisement on the front, so you can't see in and they can see out. So if somebody's coming that they know is somebody that is a danger in the neighborhood, they have no idea. So what can you do? Well, you can do things like this. So now, what have you created? You have created spaces for people to hang out in front, so you have eyes on the street. You have created a totally open space. It's still the same glass, it's just not covered. We have some advertising, but they're kind of out of the way. You can see around them or above them. So that's a very good SEPTED principle. You want to be able to have surveillance. In a school, what you would do is you would put always have somebody that's there all the time, whether it is the receptionist, the secretary, the security officer, there's always somebody in the school that's there from the moment the school opens to the time it closes. Don't hide them in an office out of the way. Put them up front with windows so that they can see who's coming in through the door, and even more important, so that they can see who's approaching the building. And so that's a design element that incorporates natural surveillance. This was actually, pictures are not very good, but that's my office. So when we first moved into the space, what we did is when you came up down the hallway, you would see, you know, these nice designer chairs and artwork and whatever. And what was happening is we kept getting people, we're in an office park, behind Centrally, and there's all sorts of offices, doctor's offices, and all sorts of government offices. People are always lost. So what would happen is people would start meandering, and more than once we had somebody like look up from their desk, and there would be a stranger standing next to them, trying to get directions. And it got really scary. There was a time when I was by myself in the office, and somebody came in and stole a laptop from the front office. And I heard somebody come in, didn't hear anything, and when I went back out, I didn't see anybody. When my husband came into the office, he was like, "Where's my laptop?" And somebody had come in. So it's a really complicated solution. You move the receptionist desk to the front. So now, every time anybody comes up the stairs, she has eyes on the hallway. So whether it's for her office or something else. And you know what? She can keep her head down, and she doesn't need to be looking out all the time, but as soon as she hears something, she can look up, and she can see. That's surveillance. Territorial reinforcement. We all know about these spaces that are like the spaces that anybody can access, and the spaces that nobody can access. Those of you who do security know, very familiar with this. So you have the public zone that you, by law, cannot exclude anybody. Everybody has a legal right to congregate in public zones. But once you get into the semi-public zone, there are things that you can do to control who enters that zone. And you definitely have, when they get into the building, and that's the problem, then you can absolutely decide who can enter your building or not, who's allowed, and how are they going to be allowed to enter that building. We know this even in our own homes. So in your home, there are areas that if somebody knocks on the door and it's a salesperson or whatever, and you know them, you keep them outside. you know. But if it's a friend, that's your neighbor that just moved in, you might welcome them and invite them into the foyer, maybe to the living room. As you get more comfortable, they might get into the kitchen, but you don't invite people that are not family into the bedroom. You know, so we already have this concept in our private homes. It needs to be, you know, we need to be aware when we're in a work environment that those need to be applied also to those environments. Where do you want people and where do you not want people? And be very clear about it. So you create certain barriers from the outside of the street to the inside, and you very clearly designate this building, even though it's separate from this building, belongs to this building, and there's an ownership. So you make sure that you identify this isn't just like any building in any street. This building has an owner and the owner cares about it. Then there's natural access control. So the first thing is you should always very clearly show where your doors are. Where is the entrance? So that's something that as you guys are in this building, you know, you've made the painting, you've put the awnings and everything. The next step that I would recommend is you need to make sure that you very clearly designate that the entrance is not these other doors that we see when we park in, but whether you do it by paint, whether you do it by lighting, whether you do it one way, but it's a real easy thing. But you want to make sure that anybody who comes to your office doesn't need to wander up and down. Because if you see somebody wandering up and down and you have a clearly marked entrance, okay, that's suspicious. But right now, they're just lost. But you want to be able to differentiate who is scoping your building and who is coming into your building. And by having a very clear entrance so that people know, that provides that. Traditional architecture, you always knew in old buildings where the entrance was. It's the new buildings that, you know, we get all funky with. It's those architects. So, natural, you know, churches, you always know where the church entrance is. Like there's never like I don't know what you get in there. Oh, this is one of the modern churches. And you have good signage. Good signage is super, super important. So in safety, let's think. 76% of house burglaries occur through forced entry on rear entrances, and we always have the biggest and best locks on the front door. So again, you know, for those of you who do, you know, locks and security systems and everything, you know, that's part of the education that needs to be done when you're sitting down with the client, with the building owner. You don't need to secure the front as much as you need to secure the sides and the back. And enforce and train your people. Does anybody know what a smoking stone is?
Smoking stone?
Yeah. Smoking stone are those rocks and stones that people keep next to the side door so that they can go out and smoke without having to go through the front. And then they put the stone there and, okay.
Prop the door open.
What happened in Uvalde? There was a teacher that had propped up one of the side doors. Now, we're not sure if that's exactly how he came in, but that could have been the way to come in. And what happened in the shooting at the movie theater, somebody went in ahead of time and unlocked the side door, the back door, so that they could come in, you know, in the middle of the movie. You need to be really aware. If you have smokers in your office, designate a smoking, if they're gonna smoke, designate a smoking area. And make sure that they don't have little stones that are going around your security system so that they can go get a smoke and endanger everything.
And that is a really good point, because I use that quite often to gain access to buildings. There are all the smokers are standing out back and they've got the door propped in. I just walk in, I grab a hard hat, I throw on a vest, I grab a clipboard and I walk right through the door. I'm wearing this, so it looks like I'm supposed to be there. I actually came out of a 4-story building one day after going through the whole place and met Lori at the front door. She said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I just covered the whole building." She said, "How did you get in?" "I've been trying to get in for 20 minutes. I went, "What am I back door?"
So this is why we have security systems.
But it's a
For
good point,
salespeople.
right?
That's why you have security systems, for salespeople.
For salespeople, that's right.
Y'all are some sneaky people, man. Salespeople, they get through your phone screeners too.
You know,
Oh, some tricky people.
and the thing is that
But we like what we do.
that is training. That's training of employees.
And
Of telling them, you know, of those stories. It happens all the time. We all know it. Everybody knows. You always go by buildings and you always see the little rocks or the little, you know, cement blocks or the little things or the potted plant that, you know, they prop it, they put it out because they don't have to go all the way around. Or maybe they're trying to get through the ding of the front door, you know, so that people don't know that they're coming in and out. So they do the side door. That is so endangering everything. Most people in most active shooters know the space because they actually belong in there. They have either worked there or are working there or know somebody who works there. And the same thing in school. So what you have, you know, so saying we don't want strangers in here, you want to make sure that whoever comes into your building is seen and known. Maintenance is really important. Greenery is so beautiful. We all love trees and bushes, but you know what? Trees and bushes are so good, such good hiding places. So if you have bushes in front of your building or in front of your house, make sure that you have cut them below so that there's enough of a space that somebody cannot hide behind it and you don't see it. If you have trees, make sure that the trees are also, you know, there's clean space so that if somebody's trying to hide, you can see them. It's really important that, and then you maintain it. You want to have, you know, the good visibility of seeing people approaching, people leaving, places where people don't hide to surprise you as you're trying to walk down, crossing the park or crossing the street or trying to get into a building, or you just happen to work late and you're going back out to your car and they have beautiful, you know, landscape architecture and all these beautiful plants all around your building and that are perfect hiding places for somebody that knows that there's usually somebody working late. That's maintenance. The broken window theory. There's a little debate about this, but usually it is true that the presence of a broken window will entice vandals to break more windows. If you see an area that's in disrepair, it normally usually only gets worse, not better. So fix the window. Even if you can't renovate the whole building, at least fix the windows or put something. Something that is starting to be done in many places is they'll put temporary like wood or something to just seal the building, and then they'll do murals. So you actually make it attractive and it makes it feel like, oh, they did that on purpose. Lighting is really important. Now lighting, what's interesting about lighting is many times you see a lot of like pathways, especially in parks, that illuminate the walkway, which is really important because you don't want people tripping. That's a big liability issue. But you also want light that goes up so that if somebody's approaching, you can recognize who they are and you can identify their face and you can see, and then the quality of the light. How many of us have been around driving, especially in some of the old parking lots, and you look in there and you can't really tell if that car is red or green or blue because the lighting is so bad. So the importance of good quality light to be able to pick colors so that you can identify what's going on. The back of a building, where do your people go and put out the trash? If somebody's there in front of your building right there, and they all of a sudden mistake the brake for the accelerator, which happens all the time. We've all seen the stories on the news, right? We have, in this building, we have bollards, which is what you want to do. You know, and they were fine, but how many people know that the big, funny, colorful, big concrete balls in front of Target are bollards? The kids jump all over them, they run over, there is a sign element, but they're actually protecting the front of the building so that you cannot drive into it. In Washington DC, some of the beautiful planters that are put in front, or especially like on the green areas, you will see like these mounds and whatever that are happening. All those are protection so that if anybody tries to cross in, they can drive through them. You know, like very highly reinforced.
In Chesapeake Parks, I know we put up a bunch around the parks and painted them all different colors, like little people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This one, I just love that picture. That's actually in the airport in Spain, in Madrid. And so, in the United States, by code, if you have this situation, you have to either put some type of water feature, fountain, railing, whatever. Why? Because if somebody's visually impaired, they're going to run right into the back of it. So in order to help that, they put the warning ribbon so that the visually impaired will know that they could run into something. Like, really? You know, so all of these things need to be done with common sense. Hazard tape is a great thing to use if people can see the hazard tape, but a blind person is not going to see the hazard tape. So you need to provide other means of creating obstacles to keep everybody safe.
Frank, what'd you do?
It's still there. It's not letting me do it now. Okay, there we go. So, this is a really safe place. It's a really great example of safety. You have visibility from all of those windows into this public space. You have ways to keep people from driving through the open ports. You have all the trees are so you can see through them. All the bushes are kept low, and you have a very clear line of sight. This is a perfect example of how do you create a plaza in the middle of a city that maybe has some issues with safety and put it in there and create the safety for it. Since there are some security people here also, one of the things I would say is I actually do a presentation that's just concepted, and one of the things that I talk about is some of the crimes that happen in downtown Norfolk, where people would get into buildings and whatever, and they've all been identified through security cameras. The thing with security cameras are amazing if you have somebody that's monitoring them 24/7. If not, security cameras are great for finding out the person who broke into your house or into your office, so it's an after-the-fact thing. However, security cameras, along with septic design working in conjunction, can create an incredibly safe environment. Using the right hardware to enter into spaces, into offices, so that you can limit things. In schools, the new locking mechanisms that you can, through the click of a button, close all the doors, that can save lives. You know, there's all sorts of new technology in the safety arena that need to be probably told more to people that people don't know of. Yeah.
And so the company name is Integrated Security Technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you're talking about, video surveillance cameras by themselves are great if someone's watching.
Right.
They're wonderful after the fact, but that's past tense.
Right.
Having an integrated system that's actually integrated with your access control as well as your intrusion detection system.
Right.
Now when that camera fires off of motion, it can actually
Somebody's
call
walking by.
your
Yeah.
monitoring set services. They can pull up a camera, validate whether someone's broken in, or if that's Joe the janitor and he forgot to hit the code.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So you're right,
That
and the
integration.
technologies are all coming together
Yes.
and working together to create
To
secure
create
environments.
a safer environment. One of my favorites has to do with lighting and motion detection. If you have let's say a high school, And usually they have like the big parking lots around them, and the lights should always, after hours, they should be totally dark. But if they're all on motion detector and somebody starts walking around, lights are gonna start going on, and any cop that's driving down the road should know those lights should not be on. It's midnight and they should all be dark. So they immediately trigger something that something has happened. And then if you have a camera at that point that somebody gets a ping, like, you know, people with rings do, you just got a ping that, and somebody can then look. So yeah, technology has become really, really amazing.
We have, so I'm on the Parks and Recs board in the city of Chesapeake, and we had some problem areas. We had some vandalism going on in some of the parks, and they put up these cameras that yell at people. So like we had an incident where out at the new Deep Creek Park, they had some kids go out there and they were turning donuts all over the brand new soccer fields, right? They just ripped them all up, just shredded them. The brand new fields. And so they installed video cameras that detected motion, and then the lights would go on, and then once the cameras were on, then they had people who would monitor them, and it would blare like, you know, you're being monitored, you're being recorded. I mean, it would just start yelling at them, and it would, I mean, it got rid of the issue. They stopped vandalizing Deep Creek Park over it. And it was all over, you know, cameras and security.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. When they were first on, I was like, now we just move them from place to place, where if you have a problem, they're like, oh, just put the cameras up over there and scare people off. Yeah. And then they come on, and, you know, it's pre-recorded stuff, but, you know, it's like, does the disco light kind of at them, like the emergency lighting, it kind of flickers at them, and it's like, you're being recorded, you know, you're being, the police are being called. I mean, it talks to them.
Even if it's a recording, if they know that they're being recorded and that is actually happening, you don't have to have another person to
way up there. They're not going to be able to vandalize them. The cameras are way up these very high poles. And,
Now, with one of the interesting things about sound that reminded me, and
it was they make a loud sound too.
They make a loud, but it also works the other way. You know, everybody, we all hear about like the gunfire recognition, things that are being installed in a lot of neighborhoods. Even more amazing is there's actually alarm systems that can be installed in bathrooms that can detect distressed screams versus kids just yelling distressed screams, so that if something is happening in the bathroom, it will notify the front office.
Yeah, it's used in detention centers as well.
Yeah. And it can be moderated so that they can tell if it's kids playing versus kids in distress.
Technology is really cool.
Yeah. And then, okay, one important thing which I just feel is really important. This is a great quote from Trial Authority. Before you can think outside the box, you have to start with a box. We like to be all loosey-goosey. You can't be loosey-goosey unless you have had some structure. So there are things that can be done that people should do. Everybody who has an office should have some type of safety plan. And a really important thing, and this is something that I'm seeing more and more in buildings recently that I've been going into, going back to the paint issue. Okay, so you're using low VOC painting, but you're painting the whole freaking building on the inside the same color. And so you know your way around, but nobody else knows their way around. So guess what happens? If you get something happening in your building and somebody's down, and first responders come into your building, how are you going to direct them anywhere if every place looks the same? So wayfinding is really an important thing that should be kept in mind whenever you are in a building. So if you call 911, somebody's in my building, or the police comes in telling them this way or that way, or in a school situation, you want to be able to say, as people are going into the building and hopefully confronting the aggressor, which is what should happen, they should be able to say, radio back as they're going in, somebody's down on the yellow corridor that has the big 12, and keep going. Because what's happening, and it's actually happening in Virginia Beach, is you have the first responders working, the second responders, which would be your firemen and your EMTs, but especially your firemen, are training with the police so that they know to come in soon after or right with them, but if they're coming soon after, they need to be directed to where people are laying down. Because when it comes to shooting, what saves lives is immediate attention. And so the second thing is every business should have a bleeding kit. And everybody in your business should know how to apply a tourniquet. And that's how you really save lives in a situation. And you should teach all your teenagers how to apply a tourniquet. Because that's the reality, that in the world we live in, whether they're outside, whether they're inside or whatever, it's not a matter of fear, it's a matter of empowering. That's what saves lives. It's being able to stop a lot of that bleeding. So there's a great picture, and I need to find it, of the shooting that happened recently in New York. I think 2 people got shot. And so there was a meme that says, "Be this guy." And so there's somebody with their phone recording this guy who's not on his phone, who's on the ground, using his belt to apply a tourniquet to somebody that's been shot. Yeah, be that guy. Why are you recording this? Why are you like on your phone right now instead of like somebody's bleeding in front of you? Okay, but we need to train people to do that, and people just don't learn how to do that. We're not born with that knowledge. So the importance of preparing staff, and those are 2 things: wayfinding and teaching staff how to apply tourniquets that can literally save lives in a situation that maybe we're all trying to prevent, but we might not be able to prevent.
So Georgie, just a question, like somebody like me, I have a small office, there's just 5 of us. I think about, I wouldn't even know, what would I mean, I'm just gonna go in there and make it up. Like, how do I get knowledge to make a plan? So if somebody comes through the front door, what everybody should do. I mean, I would literally be guessing as to how to make a plan. And then I probably make mistakes in telling people what to do.
Police departments will come and work with you, will come and talk to you, and they will help you, yes. You need to contact the community officers. And then
We actually have a certified business safety and training. She's doing a self-defense class here in September. Our AOTuesday is all about business safety and like self-defense in the workplace. And then she's doing a self-defense class like in September.
So the business safety side of that.
There are people who will do that. There are agencies, I mean, I know.
So I don't want anybody in my office fighting them. I just want them to know how to be safe.
Right.
What do we do? Like, I don't want to, like, we're not attacking them. I just want to know, like, what's the right way out of the building? What's the right way? Maybe I need different desk setups, or you know what I mean?
There are presentations, and usually the police department, I've been to several from the police department, from the FBI. They have very good ones, and that's where, I don't know if you've heard about the whole, run, hide, fight. Where sometimes your first thing is get out of the way. Well, but sometimes you can hide because it might not be safe to hide. There might not be any place to hide. And so at that point, and this is teaching that is actually being given to little kids. At that point, if there's no place to hide, you are taught to grab the biggest thing you can lift and throw it. And if you get a room full of kids throwing stuff at somebody, they're going to take them down.
Dear God.
I know, it's crazy, but that's what you would teach your people. Now, going back to offices, here's an important one, especially because you have mostly women working for you. Okay, the truth is that there's very high possibility that one of those women is going to have an issue at home. Just the person at the front desk, know not to call somebody in the back every time somebody comes and asks for them. Whether it's their husband, their boyfriend, or whatever. That should be a rule that every office should institute. If somebody comes up to the front desk here and asks to see Lori, it might be their husband, and we all know her husband, and we all, he's fine. If he's asking for her at the front desk, say, let me check if she's in her office. And then you privately call them. Because you don't know what happened last night.
Gosh, Georgie.
So those are very practical things that these things happen every time. These things are very common, so you need to protect your employees, especially companies that have lots of women.
I would tell you to call the local PD and ask them if they have any officers that might provide that type of service
They
gonna send me a
after
bill?
hours. I just worked with a customer up on the Eastern Shore in Cape Charles, and one of the local deputy sheriffs came in and did an active shooter presentation for them, and they called me back within a week and said, I want that access control system on my office that you quoted me 2 years ago.
And do you know if they charge for that?
No, no, if it's the police department, no.
Yeah.
You can.
Because I know every time the fire department shows up to inspect my building, they charge. I mean, you see them low in the parking lot, you're like, oh God, y'all. If somebody locked the front door, so they go to the one next door, please don't go to next door.
No, they will do it for free. You can, there are companies that do it for a fee. I'm sure it's not outrageous, but the police department will do it. It's part of their community outreach, so that's how that's the department you would get through.
Okay.
Where are you at?
I'm in Virginia Beach.
Oh, you're in
Yeah,
Virginia
I'm in Virginia Beach, right by the Buckner DMV.
where?
Buckner DMV. Like Princess
Right in front of
Anne,
Target.
Princess Anne, South Independence, Princess Anne.
So any
I
questions?
don't know. I live in Chesapeake.
Questions?
Me too.
Yeah.
I live in Chesapeake.
Yep, any questions? Thank you for coming.
Georgie, it was a
Be
great
safe.
presentation.
Be safe.
It is interesting to think about how architects are thinking about all of this stuff. I wouldn't know, you know, just simple stuff like you see the beautiful stairs, you wouldn't realize that was purposely designed to encourage. I just thought, oh, it's an easier way to get people out of the building faster. You know what I mean? Very cool, very cool.
I had some out of my personal.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, George.
It was like because I was gonna run very quickly the second one because of was here.
Anything else you
No,
want?
one of us.
Nope,
I'm good at
this
it.
is good.
All right, but we're gonna have.
But I got a 1 in 5 chance.